Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I am your host, Khalid. But today is the 27th of September 2023 and these are the stories that we will be discussing in detail during the course of the show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the terror threat that is posed to Pakistan by terrorist organizations like the TTP through their infiltration from the Afghan soil. Now, this has also been reiterated many a times by the Pakistani side. It has also been, the message has been delivered to the Afghan side more than once. Matti Ur Rehman Saab, who's our ambassador to the United Nations, has also briefed the United Nations Security Council on the security situation in Pakistan, the immediate threat that is being posed by the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and the hundreds of brave soldiers and civilians who have been lost as a result of different such movements by these terrorist elements. Also, Matti Ur Rehman Saab has talked about the advanced military equipment that has been left by the foreign forces in Afghanistan and the umbrella organization that the TTP is slowly becoming for terrorist groups in Afghanistan. We will be highlighting the different elements of this security apparatus that is being infiltrated by the Taliban through Afghanistan in Pakistan. We've seen many an example of that in the recent past as well. What needs to be done by the regional countries, what needs to be done by the United Nations, and what needs to be done by important countries in the global north is going to be part of our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the World Tourism Day. World Tourism Day is important, but it's also extremely important for a country like Pakistan that can rely on its tourism potential. Now, this year's theme is tourism and green investment, and the day, of course, is being celebrated across the world, including in Pakistan, to renew the pledge to consider the power and potential of the tourism sector to advance the prosperity and progress of the region. This was stated by our President, Dr. Arif Alvi. But of course, the importance of tourism and as an important sector of Pakistan's economy is paramount. We'll be highlighting that in our second story. Our third story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the parity or the difference between the US dollar and the Pakistani rupee. Now, the US dollar has dropped by 1.10 Pakistani rupee in interbank trading, and is trading at 288 rupees 70 paisas as we speak. The banks are also selling the US dollar to importers at 289 rupees and 10 paisa. The State Bank has also announced structural reforms which it has directed commercial banks to establish their own exchange companies as fully owned subsidiaries. A lot of important methodologies are being put into effect so that the rupee can stabilize compared to the dollar, and it is stabilizing as per the trend that we are seeing in the last few days. Then we are going to talk of Iraq, where a wedding happened, and what happened is that the whole lighting apparatus that was on the ceiling caught fire, and as a result of that, more than 100 people were killed and 150 people were injured in this wedding party that happened in Hamdania district in Iraq's Nevene province. We condole, our condolences, of course, serious condolences to all the families who have lost their loved ones, and this is an incident that could have been avoided, but unfortunately sometimes things happen and we don't understand how that happened and when how we could have avoided it. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about Donald Trump and his sons Eric and Don Jr., who have, as per Judge Arthur Engoro, committed fraud by inflating the value of real estate and financial assets of the Trump organization for years. Now, Donald Trump, of course, denies it. He says that this case is a witch hunt. What will happen in the days to come? We all know that the presidential elections are next year in the United States of America as well. So will that hamper his bid for becoming president of the US? That only time will tell. Nevertheless, this is a serious allegation that has now been put forward by the US judge. Let's begin with our first segment, and that concerns the terrorist groups that are present in Afghanistan and are infiltrating into Pakistan and have tried on various occasions to destabilize Pakistan in various areas, but of course with particular reference to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Let's talk to our guest who's in the studios. And he joins us. He is Hassam Ahmed Saddiqi, analyst, and of course talks about foreign affairs with particular reference to Afghanistan. Hassam, thank you very much to have joined us. Hassam, when it comes to Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and other terrorist outfits, ISIK, and which have slowly and steadily been gaining stronghold within Afghanistan, and we've been seeing the infiltration of such elements through Afghanistan into Pakistan, and the effects of that through the different events that have caused in the loss of lives of civilians and of our armed forces. Pakistan has time and again asked the Afghan authorities to stop this infiltration. Are the Afghan authorities, the interim Afghan government, not capable of stopping them, or does it not want to stop them?
Thank you very much, Omar, for inviting in the show. See, I believe that Afghan government does not seem interested in stopping the terrorist groups, or even stopping them, or even supporting them. Afghan government has constantly, since last 2 years, they have constantly negated that they are supporting TTP or they are hosting any terrorist groups in Afghanistan. But as according to the UN Security Chief, in a recent briefing, he stated that over 20 terrorist groups are currently operating in Afghanistan. Now, it is not possible that they are operating in Afghanistan without the knowledge of the current Afghan government, Afghan regime. Very specifically, if we speak about TTP, around 6,000 cadres of TTP are currently in Afghanistan, and they are trained by the Al Qaeda cadres who have strong bases in Helmand, Zabul, Nangarhar, Nuristan, and Baghdis, while they have a media center as well in Herat. Now, if Al Qaeda has a media center in Herat, how come Afghan government claims that they do not know about the presence of Al Qaeda or the presence of TTP in the mainland Afghanistan, and Herat is considered as one of the mainland cities in Afghanistan. So Afghan government does not seem interested to address the issue of terrorism.
But you say the Afghan government is not interested to to adhere to this important issue of security concerns that Pakistan has time and again asked Afghanistan to take care of. But this won't, at the end of the day, it will affect Afghanistan as well. It will affect their standing in the global community of nations.
It is seriously affecting Afghanistan. It is impacting the Afghan population. Afghan population is currently living under poor circumstances. There are human rights violations. Like if I quote World Bank, there have been around 1,600 violations of human rights by Afghan Taliban since January 2022. Now, this is a serious concern. This is a serious issue. 1,600 human rights violations by Afghan.
That is huge.
That is huge. And so consider the situation of the Afghan population and the Afghan government. It seems as the Afghan government is living in a separate domain, whereas they are not.
But how can an Afghan interim government live in a separate domain? That is what I like to understand, Hassam. The fact is, it is their government, they are controlling the country as per their claims. Shouldn't they be also controlling the security apparatus that is causing havoc in regional countries?
We should not undermine the fact that this is the group that has been in conflict with the US forces, with the international forces for the last 2 decades. And from fighting, they came into the governance, they came into the power, and they have been ruling the Afghan population since last 2 years. Now, when you came from conflict to governance, there's a hell of difference. There's a lot of difference. Governance is an entirely separate domain, and they do not seem to care about the Afghan population. Now, the issue is Afghan rupee continues to strengthen, despite the fact that the Afghan population is living under malnutrition. There are serious issues in Afghanistan of human rights, and they are not able to survive. So this is why I am saying that Afghan government is currently in a different domain.
I think the Afghan Indian government seems to live in a bubble. What happens when that bubble is going to burst?
I guess they are repeating the mistakes of the past. They are repeating the mistakes of the past, and you cannot undermine the fact that international forces may come to Afghanistan again, or an incident like 9/11 may happen.
I hope it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. Obviously, we all hope that it doesn't happen. But
shouldn't you nip the evil in the bud, as they say, before things go way out of hand, And whose responsibility does it become? Does it become Afghanistan's interim government's responsibility? Does it become the United Nations responsibility? Does it become the responsibility of neighboring regional countries like Pakistan, like other countries like China, like Russia, like the Central Asian countries? Whose responsibility is it?
Now, since Afghan government, Afghan Taliban are ruling the Afghanistan, it is entirely their responsibility to handle the security of the country. Not only handle the security of the country, but also also obey the conditions they had agreed with the United States in the Doha Agreement. They do not seem to have been obeying that agreement completely.
But remember, speaking of Doha Agreement, the Afghan Taliban delegation of the Afghan Taliban did meet with the US side in Doha a couple of weeks back as well. If both the sides are in contact, why can't the message be conveyed to the Afghan interim government that they need to stop what they're doing as far as the infiltration of these terror groups is concerned?
The message is being conveyed regularly, not only by the international community, not only by the US, by the UN, but also the regional countries as well. But it seems very strange that Afghan government is not looking at the broader picture. It is not looking at the development and the cooperation. If it goes into the phase of cooperation with the regional countries, if it goes in, if it handles the security well, and it goes into the economic cooperation with all the regional countries. Just imagine for in case if the Afghan-Pak-Afghan border that had been closed for 9 days a week back, if it had not been closed, millions of dollars had been earned by the state of Pakistan as well as by the state of Afghanistan. But Afghan government does not seem to care about that.
But if the Afghan government does not seem to care about that, how can they, survive as a country? Because you cannot survive in a country with security lapses such as that committed by the TTP and the ISIK in countries such as Pakistan. And of course, there are concerns of the ETIM as far as China is also concerned. But this should have been taken care of or catered to a long way back. If you remember, Amir Muttaqi, the interim foreign minister of Afghanistan, had said in his very first address that we are not going to let the Afghan soil to be used against any neighboring country. Isn't it a blatant violation of his statement?
It is a blatant violation of his own statement, and this violation continues to go on again and again. Now, you say, how does Afghan's government survive? They are receiving $40 million of aid per week from the United Nations in terms of development.
Is that going in the right direction, or is it being used for other things as well?
It does not seem to go in the right direction. If it had been in the right direction, Afghan general population would not have been in such bad conditions. How come we say that Afghan government is receiving over $2 billion of aid per annum from the international agencies, from the United Nations, and then the Afghan population is facing malnutrition, Afghan population is facing severe poverty issues. So this obviously the aid does not seem to go in the right direction. And while our Prime Minister Anwarul Haqqaqat his visit was also very important to the United Nations, and since he and Ambassador Munir Akram as well as the Foreign Minister has also highlighted to the international community that terrorism from Afghanistan is the biggest threat. It is a major challenge, and Pakistan needs to save itself from the terrorists emanating from Afghanistan.
All right, now this said, you talked about Munir Akram Sahab, who's also again told the United Nations Security Council that unless the TTP, and I quote what he said, unless the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and other terrorist groups were neutralized, they will continue to pose a threat to Afghanistan's neighbors and the international community. What is the methodology that needs to be used to neutralize TTP and the other terrorist organizations that are creating havoc in Pakistan?
Now, the issue is there needs to be a comprehensive strategy, not from the Afghanistan or from the Pakistan individually, but a comprehensive strategy but from the both countries. Recently, Ambassador Asif Durrani went to Afghanistan, and it has been circulating in the news that the committees or the bilateral committees of both countries are working on the issues to address the issue of terrorism. But what I propose is, what I say is that a comprehensive border management framework needs to be initiated. That includes politics, it includes economic diplomacy, it includes the refugees, it includes the migration of the refugees, it includes the issue of safe havens in Afghanistan as well as in Pakistan, and all these issues need to be addressed jointly by the both countries. TTP threat cannot be eliminated in a day, in a year. It needs to be eliminated ideologically. The state of Pakistan, the institution of Pakistan, they need to address this issue. They are actively fighting the conflict in the tribal administrative region of Pakistan. They are actively fighting the conflict in Balochistan as well as in KP. But the issue is ideological. Why on earth is the fact that TTP cadres are not reducing, despite the fact that they are being regularly killed in the military operations? The issue is ideological. We need to focus on ideological factors.
And what are the ideological factors in your point of view?
The fact that TTP is supported by Afghan Taliban. They are supported by Afghan Taliban because of the ideology. Because of the ideology, they have been supported by the Afghan Taliban. So this ideology needs to be culminated. If a member of the family has been killed by the security forces, it needs to be addressed. Another member of the family does not need to go to the militancy or does not need to join the militant groups. So this issue needs to be tackled ideologically alongside
this tackling of the issue. How long? You say it's not a short-term goal, but we need to also tackle this issue on a short-term and a long-term goal in parallel, in tandem. But how should we do it in the short term, in your point of view?
Now we are actively fighting the conflict, as I earlier said. We need to define our objectives. We need to define our goals. What can be the short-term goals and what can be the long-term goals in tackling the ideology of TTP. We have the narrative of Paigam-e-Pakistan. Now the narrative of Paigam-e-Pakistan has been propagated across the mainland cities of Pakistan. But has anyone or has any institution of Pakistan made an effort to go to North Waziristan or go to South Waziristan?
I'm sure they must have done that, because Paigam-e-Pakistan is nothing new, and I myself went through all the texts which was signed and ratified by all the different religious communities of Pakistan.
I'm sure they would have done that, but the issue needs to be this narrative needs to be propagated more actively, more proactively, and this not just the conflict. One side we are facing the conflict, one side we are fighting the conflict, the other side the long-term objective. We need to address the ideological factors, and this is the only possible way that we can address the issue of TTP as well as the other militant groups inside Pakistan. Now in terms of Afghanistan, we need to enhance our economic cooperation. Economic integration, regional economic integration is the only way for China, Pakistan and Afghanistan.
Of course, China is very interested to include Afghanistan as far as the China-Pakistan economic corridor is concerned. But how can you include a country when the country A is involved directly or indirectly in such incidents? B is not taking care of all the different requests that have been made on different fronts by the international community, and that is why it is not diplomatically recognized by almost all the global community.
Now realization is a fact, and we have to make the Afghan government realize this fact, that if until and unless they address the security paradigm, until and unless they address the terrorist groups in their country, if a country has 20 active terrorist groups operating, every other member of every other family will be and they are facing the issue of poverty as well. Every other member of the family, every other family will be looking to join those terrorist groups. Now this is a serious threat. This is a serious ideological threat for Afghanistan as well, if they could realize this.
But there are different components as far as the threat from Afghanistan is concerned. The major one is, of course, the security element through groups like the TTP or the ISIK that has claimed several incidents in the KP region to have been done by them. You remember one political party that was, of course, also directly implicated as the victim of the attack that was perpetrated by the ISIK. This said, there's also the huge amount of migrants, Afghan migrants that are currently present in Pakistan, not since now, since decades, but a lot of them are unaccounted for. There is a certain number that are registered. There's a huge number that isn't. Then there was this massive smuggling of dollars that was happening from Pakistan to Afghanistan that caused an impact on Pakistan's economy and the currency as well. That is now being controlled through different efforts by the agencies and by the government as well. These different components, should we tackle them individually, separately, or collectively?
These efforts need to be done collectively. No single effort can pave us the results that we are seeking. Currently, you said about the issue of Afghan refugees. The issue of Afghan refugees has also been addressed by our interim setup. They have decided that these Afghan refugees will be sent back to Afghanistan in phases. In the first phase, those Afghan refugees who are not accounted within, who are not registered with the United Nations or the government of Pakistan, they will be sent back. In the second phase, those who are registered but they have not renewed their cards, they will be sent back. And in the third phase, those who have established their businesses, those who are established in Pakistan since last 4 decades, they will be sent back to Afghanistan. So in 3 phases. Now obviously this is not a short term thing.
Of course.
It's a long term.
But it's a long term thing, but it should be a long term and sustainable thing, something that continues
it will be sustainable if there's international cooperation involved in it. Until and unless international agencies, the UNHCR, very particularly the UNHCR, since it is its domain, and the government of Pakistan,
UNDP as well,
UNHCR, UNDP, and the government of Pakistan, as well as any other international agencies that can contribute, that can chip in this paradigm, in this framework, and address the issue of refugees. If these refugees went back, a major security issue of Pakistan would be addressed.
All right. So of course there's this Afghan refugees issue. There's of course the money issue that is being controlled now, and I hope it continues to be controlled, and also this security issue that I hope the Afghan government will cater to and will look into and will take the necessary action as far as that is concerned. Hassam, Ahmed, Saddiqi, thank you very much to have joined us in the studios. You were talking to us about the issue of security and the security threats that emanate from the Afghan soil, what needs to be done in the whole context of Munir Akram Sahab, who's also been talking about this and briefing the United Nations Security Council as far as the security situation in Pakistan and the threat caused by the TTP is concerned. Thank you very much to have joined us. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our first story. Our second story concerns the World Tourism Day. And of course, the theme this year is tourism and green investment. More in the following report.
Tourism is one of the world's most important economic sectors. It employs 1 in every 10 people on Earth and provides livelihoods to hundreds of millions more. World Tourism Day is commemorated each year on the 27th of September. Its goal is to raise tourism awareness within the international community under the theme Tourism and Green Investment. The overall disruption in the tourism sector brought about by COVID-19 provides an opportunity to redefine and recalibrate the direction and narratives of tourism investments for a more sustainable future for the people, the planet, and prosperity. Now is the time for new and innovative solutions, not just traditional investments that promote economic growth and prosperity. Additionally, tourism plays a vital role in supporting small businesses and attracting private and foreign investments to a region. Pakistan is second to none in unfolding its tourism potential, from the mighty stretches of the Karakorams in the north to the Indus River in the south. Pakistan remains a land of high adventure and nature. Trekking, mountaineering, whitewater rafting, wild boar hunting, mountain and desert jeep safaris, camel and yak safaris, trout fishing, and bird watching are a few activities which entice the adventure and nature lovers to Pakistan. Pakistan is endowed with a rich and varied flora and fauna. High Himalayas, Karakoram and the Hindu Kush ranges with their alpine meadows and permanent snowline, coniferous forests down the sub-mountain scrub, the vast Indus plain merging into a great desert, the coastline and wetlands, all offer a remarkably rich variety of tourism and with historical places worth seeing. Monuments of Buddhism, old monasteries, Mohenjo-daro, Harappa and Taxila. Pakistan offers opportunities to tourists who have an interest in birds and wildlife. In our forests, we have some beasts and animals which are very rare elsewhere. Tourism has become a vital sector of the Pakistani economy, contributing significantly to the country's GDP, creating jobs, and improving the balance of payments and promoting cultural exchange and understanding. In 2018, the British Backpacker Society ranked Pakistan the world's top adventure travel destination, describing the country as one of the friendliest countries on earth, with mountain scenery that's beyond anyone's wildest imagination. Forbes ranked Pakistan as one of the coolest places to visit in 2019. Condé Nast Traveller ranked Pakistan the best holiday destination for 2020 and also declared it the third highest potential adventure destination in the world for 2020. According to the World Economic Forum's WEF's Travel and Tourism Development Index, TTDI Report 2021, Pakistan ranked 83rd out of 117 countries. As security in the country improves, tourism increases. It has increased by more than 300%. The Pakistani government is actively working to further develop the tourism industry through measures such as improving infrastructure, promoting cultural heritage, and offering incentives for investment in the sector. With its rich natural beauty and cultural heritage, Pakistan is poised to become one of the world's leading tourist destinations in the coming years, and this will bring significant benefits to its economy and its people.
Of course, the importance of tourism can and not be denied, and we need to work more and more as far as Pakistan's tourism potential is concerned. We've been joined in the studios by our guest. He's Abu Zafar Sadiq, President Alpine Club of Pakistan, and we all know how important Pakistan's mountains are for tourists from across the world who come regularly in different seasons to Pakistan. Thank you very much, Abu Zafar Sadiq Sahab, to have joined us. Pakistan's tourism potential, when people and organizations and magazines call Pakistan an adventure travel destination, one of the best adventure travel destination. How do you see Pakistan as far as that is concerned, as far as its tourism potential is concerned, as far as its mountainous regions are concerned? And what has been the reaction, because you've seen that firsthand, from the foreign tourists?
There is a lot of potential in our country, that we have a wide range of adventure, tourism in the country, from mountains to deserts and shores in the south. So a lot of variety of adventure is there, as mountaineering is famous. The Skardu and the 5 peaks above 8,000 meters, a lot of mountaineers come every year. Similarly, we have rafting and whitewater rafting, kayaking and so on. Skiing is also very popular, and new venues are being explored for cross-country. International events are being held. So there is a lot of variety in Pakistan in adventure tourism. We also see the potential about the our history, our archaeological sites, the Buddhism and religious and so on. We have a lot penalty to attract the tourists across the globe in the country.
All right, Abu Zafar, how do you see the influx of tourists? Has it increased over the years? If so, is there a particular demand by those who come to Pakistan as to what they want to see, how they want to be catered to?
There is a lot of increase currently. After pandemic, we see a lot of increase in tourist flow in the country, and there is a need to build more infrastructure which is being attracted by the foreign investors as well. We have seen building of new resorts and other facilities in mountain areas of Pakistan. So there is a great increase in number of mountaineers, trekkers and tourists in the northern Pakistan. However, there is a need to improve the quality of services in the country, which is being looked after and taken care by the government by imparting various sorts of training in the tourism
Don't you
sector.
feel that the private sector is also investing a lot as far as that is concerned?
Yes, of course. They are building resorts, and they are building, providing transport facilities which are far better we experienced in the past. And similarly, they are investing in the training to improve the quality of service in hotel and other tourism industry actors.
How can we promote tourism in Pakistan? Because there's a lot of potential. There are so many areas to discover, whether it be the mountains that your organization caters to, whether it be the deserts, the archaeological sites like Taxila, like Mohenjo-daro, whether it be all the other beautiful sites that Pakistan has to offer. How can we properly disseminate information across the world so that we get more and more tourists in our country, and Pakistan changes its image from a beautiful and a green and a tourist friendly country?
Attracting the people, we are already working on it, and Pakistan Tourism Development Corporation is doing so very much. They are participating in international fairs and marts and expos which are held every year in different countries. So a lot of tourism industry actors go to there, they display there, they disseminate their information. It is one of the main reasons I think that they are attracting tourists a lot in our country. But we need to focus on southern side to attract more, because in the north we have a lot of people going there. We have sometimes experienced the over tourism, the more than the capacity these areas have. But
you talk of more than, that's a very interesting aspect that you point towards, when the requirements or the potential is much more than the facilities that are being provided. How can that be catered to?
It needs to be investment by the private sector, and to invest in the alternate or new destinations which are being explored by the government, and the provincial governments are looking and they are planning new destinations in a very economical and sustainable model, particularly in this context that today is World Tourism Day, and the theme is tourism and green investment.
Speaking of tourism and green investment, how can the tourism sector, including the organization you work for, can work more diligently to make this sector more green and more environment friendly?
So it's need that it's not only our organization, it's the people and the planet and the prosperity.
It basically is a collective responsibility. We'll go back to you, but we have to go to a short break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. He is the president of Alpine Club of Pakistan, to discuss Pakistan's tourism potential on this World Tourism Day with the theme of tourism and green investment. Zafar, Sadiq Saab, green tourism is being talked about across the world nowadays, whereas it has been implemented in certain parts, it hasn't, even in the developed world. How can Pakistan as a country work towards these initiatives to make Pakistan more green as far as its tourism sector is concerned?
It needs to have a collaborative and cooperative effort from the government and the private sector and the community as well. And as I mentioned earlier, that the government is developing new destination, and they are planning and keeping all the important aspects of the environment care and eco-friendly and the sustainability of that project without affecting the ecology of that regions. So it is a very useful and a very important project which is being developed, and I hope that if the communities are involved in this project, which is very much there in their program and the plan, it will be work and bring sustainability for the long term for the communities to come and the nations and the
and of course there's a talk of how the tourism sector can boost our GDP by 50 to 70%, so that makes it a very, very important sector. This said, when you talk of how to make Pakistan more eco-friendly, how to make Pakistan more green as far as its tourism sector is concerned, you understand tourism much better than a person like myself. What would you propose had you been in charge of the tourism sector of Pakistan? What were the basic fundamental changes that need to be brought about?
One very important aspect is that after 18th Amendment, the subject is devolved to the provinces. and now the provinces are responsible to develop the infrastructure and everything. But at the federal level, PTD is taking care of it. There is a lot of challenges to regulate the tourism, because the federal government do not have much say after the devolutions. There is need to revisit that aspect, that already a lot of things are being considered by the government, and PTDC is taking care of all at the national and international level. There is need to pay more attention toward this aspect there, so that the sustainability and the environment friendly aspect of the new project should be taken care, as I already mentioned, that the federal government is taking care and supporting the provincial governments to move ahead with the sustainability of the regions, so that the long term investment and the green investment is ensured for the people and for the even our own sustainability.
But Abu Zafar, Sadiq sir, how can Pakistan promote its tourism sector or its places to visit? Whose role becomes more important? Is it the Ministry of Tourism? Is it the different governments, the federal or the provincial? Is it our media, or is it collectively everybody?
I think it is a responsibility of the everybody, because when the tourist come here, he experience different things in the country.
Even before coming here, he needs to know what to visit, whether he should visit Pakistan or she should visit Pakistan, what are the places to visit. For that, there needs to be maybe a proper information in all the different embassies of Pakistan across the world.
They have already established a tourism portal, and they have launched, the Prime Minister last launched it, and they have a lot of investment to brand Pakistan. They have a lot of information on that portal, and similarly our embassies are being they are being oriented, the officers who are being deputed in foreign missions, they are given orientation on tourism as well. So they are working very well, and the potential is too much, and people are coming, but there is need to to avoid over tourism as well, because some of the pockets are so much attractive that a lot of people, not only from abroad, even Pakistani tourists go, a lot of tourists go there, and they are posing threats for the environment, and so many challenges there.
Speaking of Pakistan tourists, my last question, I'd like a small answer. Abu Zafar, Sadiq sir, we see a lot of waste being dropped by a lot of tourists, especially when it comes to local tourists. A lot has been said and done in the past as well, but how can we create more awareness amongst the touristic community, whether they be local or whether they be foreign, to manage waste properly when they visit the touristic sites?
It is responsibility of the everyone, as Alpine Club of Pakistan is doing, not only on this day, but International Mountain Day and Environment Day. On such occasions, we hold seminars and workshops and activities like eco-friendly activities to engage the communities and the youth in cleaning the mountains, and giving them some orientation that how to keep them clean. But still, I think the media is very important to play its role, that so that the masses could be educated in this respect as well.
All right. Let's hope this happens, and maybe stricter regulation, maybe as far as those who still don't care and still make our green areas, our beautiful touristic areas, pockets of waste, and we have seen that with my proper eyes in the past many times as well, and that breaks the heart, because Pakistan has such beautiful places. When you go visit them and when you see people just disposing of their waste openly, this is not something that needs to be done in a country like Pakistan that has the potential to become a huge touristic hub.
The more prone areas, which are in northern areas, Baltoro glaciers and important, they are national parks. There is a lot of efforts there by the government and Central Karakoram National Park authorities there. They are taking care of it. They are regulating it very strictly. The movement of the mountaineers, they are imposing some fine as well, which are in danger, which are much more prone to the environmental threats. They are being taken care of on the priority.
That is wonderful, and I hope all these things make Pakistan a center for tourist attraction and a hub for future tourists coming to Pakistan, and then more and more magazines, like we said in the report as well, highlighting Pakistan as a beautiful place to visit. It is a beautiful place to visit. I've visited so many places, and I can't thank my stars enough to be in a country where I can go visit the mountains as well as the deserts, as well as the palaces, as well as the archaeological sites that Pakistan has to offer. Thank you so very much, Abu Zafar Sadiq, President Alpine Club of Pakistan, to have joined us, to have talked to us about Pakistan's tourism potential on the World Tourism Day, and of course the importance of making tourism a green sector as well, as is the theme of this year, tourism and green investments. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Let's come to our last stories very quickly. The first concerns the dollar versus the rupee. That now US dollar has dropped by 1.10 Pakistani rupee in interbank trading as far as the latest reports are concerned. The current trading, interbank trading, is going on at rupees 288.7 to the dollar, and the banks are selling the US dollars at a rate of 289.1. And in the open market it's 291 rupees. It's a good measure, and at the same time, it is all of this parity between the open market and the interbank is being done as per the guidelines that have been laid down by the International Monetary Fund. The rupee has been on quite a better run compared to the dollar in recent month, and this comes in the whole wake of a countrywide crackdown on illegal exchanges and currency smugglers by the law enforcement agencies. Right measures taken at the right time, and look how the results are coming. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Iraq. You must have seen that in a lot of social media platforms. It's on X, it's on Instagram, it's on Facebook. It happened during a wedding. The whole mechanism of lights that was on the wall caught fire during a wedding, and that resulted in the killing of more than 100 people due to this unfortunate incident, and 100 people were injured due to the fire that accumulated and cost the lives of so many people. 113 people have been confirmed dead. State media pushed the death toll at least 100. The fire ripped through this large event hall in the northeastern region after fireworks were lit during the celebration. In fact, it was the fireworks, when they emanated, they just also engulfed the wall and all the system that was up there, and that is what put the risk, all the people at risk that were there, and look at the casualties that have happened as a result. We need to be extremely careful when we do weddings, and there are a lot of wedding planners across the world, including in Pakistan, and a lot of them are careful, but we need to be extra vigilant when it comes to using such fireworks inside a hall are concerned. The message for all the people, and of course our sincere condolences to all those who've lost their family members in this tragic incident. Our last story concerns Donald Trump and of course the decision that has been taken by Judge Arthur Ngoro that Donald Trump and his sons Eric and Don Jr. committed fraud by inflating the value of the real estate and financial assets of the Trump organization for years. Now, New York State Attorney General Letitia James has accused Trump and the two eldest sons of business fraud for allegedly submitting grossly inflated numbers to the banks and insurers. Trump's lawyers did ask the judge to throw out the case ahead of the trial by granting what is known as a summary judgment in his favor. But of course, the decision has come out, and we have told you what the decision is. Donald Trump, who is also the front runner as far as the 2024 Republican presidential nomination is concerned, has denounced this decision that has been given as a witch hunt. Not the first time that he's called that, calling James, who is a Democrat, and black racist. Also, nothing new coming from Donald Trump, but the fact remains that it's going to be politically difficult for Donald Trump in the coming days. But they said, who knows, the 24 presidential nominations and the elections are a couple of months away, and there is still time. We'll be updating you as and when more details emanate as far as Donald Trump's indictments and the judgments are concerned. Till then, stay tuned to PTV World and stay tuned to NEWSROOM. We'll be back, inshallah, tomorrow with news stories and segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Allah Hafiz.